Yeah, so obviously, it's good to finish last weekend with where we were. Two things, appreciate the fans, 25,000 people at the game the other day. As day games go, I think that was the best atmosphere that has been since I've been here in a day game. I think that was tremendous. It helps recruiting. We had 5 people in on official visits. One of them was already committed. 2 others committed this weekend. So, again, the atmosphere that's created here for games, it's a big deal. And I think anybody that ever has a question about what the importance of Wyoming football is to the state of Wyoming, just show up on Saturday, and you see that. So with that, we turn a page, we go on, have a big game this week against an incredibly good opponent. I vote in, I think, the USA Today poll is what it is. I had them 12th a week ago. I had them 10th this week. So, I see this. I value them a lot more than maybe what someone else on the outside is right now. They're really good. Obviously, they're averaging 53 points a game. They're allowing 9.5. They've got a quarterback in Devin Dampier that I don't think we've stopped ever. So we've got to try to figure out a way to do that. But they also have an incredibly good offensive line with 2 outstanding offensive tackles that are as good as what you're going to find anywhere in the country. And they don't have a weakness, in it. They're good in the return game. They're extremely strong on defense and physical and play very hard. They're well coached. Look, it's a great opportunity too. And we talked to the team after the game on Saturday, and the biggest thing that we've got to do and the approach that we've got to take with everything, these next 2 games, and in particular this one here, because we only deal with one at a time, we need to be a lot better coming out of it all than what we are going into it. And so there's not going to be any lack of attention when people put on that video and see everybody that we're going to have to play against this week. It's a really, really, really good football team. And I can promise you this, there's not going to be a lot of coaches around the country that watch these guys on video that are signing up and going, let's go play these guys. So with that, we'll take any questions.
Jay, I think we're burying the lead a little bit here. Everybody's really concerned about Kaden Anderson. Will he play this week?
Yeah, I would anticipate him playing for sure. Kaden Anderson's fine. Got checked out after, at the end of the game the other day. Everything that they do to check all the different possibilities when somebody takes a kind of a higher hit like that. Now there was nothing concussion. There was none of that. He has nothing shoulder, nothing arm, none of that type of thing. His was in a mid to upper body. Have to check out all the things internal, all that stuff. All that came back. I saw him this morning. He was doing range of motion work in the training room and the whole deal. He'll throw at practice today. Anticipation is if he's not full at practice today, he probably will be tomorrow. So that's where we're at. So we're all very fortunate that wasn't anything more than what that was. The expectation would be that he'll be starting this Saturday unless there's some kind of setback or residual coming from just range of motion or something that way.
Jay, you mentioned obviously Devin Dampier. He had the big game last year, but even 2 years ago when he came in for Hopkins here, how much have you seen him grow as a thrower and also as just a quarterback since that first matchup?
Yeah, first of all, as a thrower, he makes a lot of different throws, does it very well. He's proficient within what they do offensively. He's in a scheme now that fits him even better than it did 2 years ago. Obviously the same offensive coordinator from last year at New Mexico. They do so many good things in the run game and so many different things utilizing personnel. Look, they've got 2 outstanding players in Smith Snowden and the linebacker Landon Barton who play on offense, right? And they utilize these guys all over the place. And so you take a weapon like Dampier who can create. And I think that's the most frustrating thing defensively when you play against a quarterback like this. It's hard enough to put yourself always in the right spot to where you feel like, okay, we've got this play stopped. Then all of a sudden, it's the unscripted things that he can do, that all of a sudden just break a play down or break a defense down and can keep a drive going and everything that way. And that's the stuff there that he is so good at. But he's improved in every way from a couple years ago, and he, obviously now he's got far more weapons and a far better offensive line than what he has ever had. So.
Jay, you already mentioned the All-American tackles they have. How big of a week is this for your defensive ends, and what makes those guys so good?
Well, what makes them so good is that they're not only huge, but they move extremely well. I mean, they're talented people, physical, play hard, like the whole picture. Like you watch it, it doesn't take very long when you're watching a video to go, man, both these tackles are tremendous. It doesn't take very long. So obviously it's a challenge for everybody defensively. Our end position for sure. Our inside players, really everybody across the board for us defensively this week, we're going to have to play, as good as what we possibly can. So it's a big deal.
We've heard a little bit about Samuel Harris. Obviously, how good was it to see him get in the end zone first time in his career, and can we expect that a little more?
Yeah, well, I think you can expect that a lot more. It was the hope. I think that he showed kind of what makes him special in the fact that he's got a burst. He's got, legit top-end speed. His vision and quickness are very good as well. He's going to do nothing but continue to improve and get better. And there's things that he can do that we haven't had a back here that can do since I've been here. He's just a freshman, though, right now. So there's going to be some things that there's going to be a learning curve to certain things, and there's time in that space. And so but I'm really excited about what he's going to turn into.
Jay, you can obviously plan for what Utah has done in the first two games, but you mentioned the unscripted plays. How do you make sure that the defense is ready for things like that?
That's a great question, because I don't know that anybody really has an answer to that. Look, I mean, again, Devin Dampier is a great player, and we have tremendous respect for not only what he does as a player, but also all the players that are playing around him right now and how they're coached, okay? And so, there's a lot of plays that it is. The few plays that UCLA kind of even matched up, then he would just broke them down by just going, okay, now I'll do my thing. And, that's a big challenge. You're going to have to tackle very, very well. We're going to have to stay attached to receivers very, very well. We can't get selfish in a rush lane or something like that and come out of a space. We got to leverage a football very, very well and cup it and get people there to tackle it. There's so many different things to it that come into that, but you're going to have to try to, as much as possible, build fences around, where the ball is going and where he can escape to at times. And that's easier said than done. But, those are all the things that we got to try to work on this week.
I know he's your opponent, but is it pretty special to watch a Mountain West kid become a household name like Devin Dampier has?
I mean, I don't know how you want me to answer that. Look, I think, like I said, we have all the respect in the world for him, right? We do. To sit there and say I'm going to champion the cause for somebody that leaves our conference and makes a name for themselves somewhere else, I'm not really going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to protect our own. Like, it'd be no different than I sit here, you guys asked me a question about Sam Harris. Am I going to stand up and cheer if he's playing somewhere else? No, I'm not going to do that. So, but, I mean, I have all the respect in the world for the guy. And I know he's a tremendous player and a tremendous competitor. But, I coach in the Mountain West, and so that's how that's going to be.
Coach, you said you expected to see big steps being taken from week 1 to week 2. I wonder which progress stood out, if there was any.
Well, I think there was a few things. I think number one, defensively, I thought Jaden Williams played better this past game. I thought he had a tremendous week of practice. I thought it showed in how he played there. I thought the number of players, again, defensively that we played showed for, again, that way. I thought special teams, though, was where we made probably our biggest impact week 1 to week 2. We made a couple just mistakes in week one, not fielding a punt down inside our 5-yard line, having somebody, go off the script to try to down a punt inside their 5-yard line when we've got 2 people there to down it, and it's their job to do. And so we made some mistakes. Last week we really didn't, and now we got to clean up a holding penalty on the one punt return. But I thought there was a lot of progress from that standpoint. I think offensively, I thought Kaden did a really good job of distributing the ball places that it needed to go. And I thought, in the run game, it was good to see more people step forward and have success, with their carries and that type of thing there. And I thought Teron Kelman popped last week, which was a good thing. And, so those are all – there was a lot of positives to take away from it. I think, what we have to avoid offensively, and obviously this week, paramount to do it. We got ourselves in a couple situations where we had some lost yardage plays the other day. We took a sack for 15 yards. We got an intentional grounding that, those become drive killers when you get to some of those things because, you just can't live in a space where next thing you know, you're like 2nd and 22 or something like that. And so those are things that we've got to make sure that we can do a better job of as coaches, but also at times we can do a better job of as players and to handle those things much better.
Coach, Braden and Evan have been graded very highly at linebacker the last couple of weeks. What is it about their game that they seem to be right place, right time?
Well, I think a lot of it's their preparation on stuff and that whole room. I think that whole room played really well the other day. Evan Eller did, putting himself in position for the interception. Braden Johnson had another good game. Enoch had a really good game, really productive game in the plays that he played on Saturday. So I think that, the preparation that those guys are taking and the time that those guys are spending, to get ready for a game. There's a lot of guys right now in our program that I really, really appreciate the fact that you can't give them enough right now. In terms of video, in terms of information, in terms of all the other stuff. And that's what you want. When you gotta be dragging a guy in here to watch stuff, or something like that, then that's a telling sign of where you're going to be at. That's not the case right now. We can't give them enough, which is a really good thing.
Jay, we talk about Gillenborg all the time, Svoboda, Wilson, even the young guys Pace and Frent. Justin Erb throws a block that springs Sam Harris the other day in the fourth quarter. It makes his first career catch. How good is that kid, and how much could he potentially help this week against a defensive end like John Henry Daly, who's been one of the better ones in the country?
Yeah, John Henry Daly's having a good run right now. He's got 3 sacks in 2 games, and he's very impactful right now. Justin Erb has played well, this year in the roles that he has. He's on all the special teams. He does a lot of good things there. He plays hard. It puts himself in the right spot. And you appreciate him. He was a walk-on that we put on scholarship after the season last year and do that. And he's continued forward in the roles that he has to do his job. And, it was good to see him. Look, he blocks well. He's going to fight. He's going to scratch. He's going to claw. And that's what you asked for. And so I was happy to see him be productive the other day. It was a really good thing.
Jay, when you consider Coach Harrell wasn't with you until spring was, about over, and Sam wasn't out there, and you have a freshman, added a couple guys after spring, are you pretty pleased with how that all turned out from that point till now?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with how that position has panned out. Sometimes things work out, and having a change happen when it did. And then to be able to get somebody like, Gary Harold come in and coach the running backs and to do that. And I think that's been a really big positive for us. And it's a good room, and we're going to need all of them as we get it through this season and to do that. And so, but I do think we've got talent there. I do think we've got far more depth than what we've had in the past there. And I do think we've got guys that, I think it's pretty easy to see why we should be excited about Sam Harris in this program in the future and in the long term that way. And so that's all, Gary's doing a great job with that group.
Jay, this is a longtime rivalry. A lot of older Wyoming fans have a lot of dislike for Utah. There's plenty of reasons to get up for this game, but what do you know about this rivalry, and will you talk to your guys this week about what beating the Utes means to this program?
I mean, look, I'm aware of the history to everything and those types of things there, and how conference former rivals type of thing, and shared the same conference for a number of years, and everything from that standpoint. I don't get into all that. As far as we'll talk about some of the history to it and how it's that part of it. But as far as I deal in the here and now. And the here and now is that Kyle Whittingham has a great football team that's going to be a big challenge for us Saturday night. And for us to, put ourselves in position to win a game, we're going to have to play extremely well. Look, that's the goal that you try to find every week, and to do that. But I'm not going to minimize anything about it. That's a great program, and they've got a really good team. This won't shock me if, look, a year ago we played two Big 12 teams. One went to the playoff, and one really probably could have been when you get down to it. I mean, BYU is better than SMU. They just were. So when you get down to it, we played two of them that were really good a year ago. We're playing another one this week that's right in that same mode. Will it shock me if they're in the Big 12 championship game? No. Will it shock me if they're, all this? This isn't going to surprise anybody. There's some. When they walk out there with that offensive line, that's a real group. When you watch that on video, it's pretty impressive.
So obviously Wyoming has had plenty of ranked teams in Laramie before. You kind of mentioned the opportunity that this presents, but how much of an opportunity is this to kind of represent the football culture in Wyoming?
Yeah, look, this is huge for us. Again, we're going to have great fan support this week. We're going to have guys in on official visits again. It's another big, and we're on a national TV this week against a top flight opponent, and we want to play well. We want to show the world what game day is in Laramie, Wyoming, and we want to make it hard on the opponent that comes here and plays and does that type of thing. And so, but again, once that ball gets kicked off, two teams play, and we're going to have to play really well. And again, I think that the timing is really good in the fact that for us, we need to raise levels of where we're at as a football team. And there's no better opponent, essentially, you're going to have to raise your level to compete in this game and to really have a chance in this game. We're going to have to raise our levels. And so we're aware of that. Everybody's aware of that.
How is Jake Wilson progressing?
Okay, so that's a great question on Jake Wilson. So Jake, of course, had the cyst removed from his knee. There was there was an infection within the knee as well. So there was a further procedure that happened where that infected part got taken out. He was in surgery, I believe, the Friday after the Akron game. Was in the hospital there for a few days while they're kind of doing all the antibiotics and all that type of stuff there. Infection's all gone. Jake will heal much better now. It's just we're going to see what the time frame is by the time of okay, when is he ready to play? How many games will that? We just got to see, and a lot of that's so there was not the progress that we were hoping initially after the first procedure was done. Well, it was because it was infected, and the infection kept that from healing, and so then there had to be a second procedure.